Sky News can reveal that Scott Morrison raised the prospect of an aged care levy to pay for an extra $10 billion plus in the budget for aged care, but Treasurer Josh Frydenberg and the Treasury Secretary Stephen Kennedy successfully argued against it. Scott Morrison put the levy and other options on the table in budget discussions, as I understand it, but the Treasurer was firmly in opposition, arguing taxpayers should not pay the recurrent bill for the provision of aged care services in this country through a new tax. Here is Scott Morrison answering a question on the Royal Commission recommendation for a levy when he released that Aged Care Royal Commission report at Kirribilli House last month. He certainly didn't rule it out then.
We'll consider those things. You know our government's disposition when it comes to increased levies and taxes. It's not something that we lean into. In fact, as Treasurer, I once sought to increase the Medicare levy by 0.5% to provide support to the National Disability Insurance Scheme, and I wasn't supported in that by the Labor Party or the Greens for that matter. So that's something that I've seen in other contexts that the Parliament hasn't supported before, so you'd forgive me for being a little wary at this point. I'm committed to dealing with the issues that are raised in this report together with my government team, and it will test all of us. It'll test my government, it'll test the budget, it'll test the Parliament, it'll test the way in which we are prepared to deal with this issue.
So he said it'll test the budget and the Parliament. Appears it'll test the budget but not the Parliament. No aged care levy. Josh Frydenberg very much against that. The industry is asking for $7 billion a year. And you would have to think that for that sort of commitment, you would need a levy like the Medicare levy to pay for it. So it will be a lot less the commitment, around $10 billion or a bit more a year. A bit hard to argue for a levy for the self-proclaimed party of lower taxes. It appears Frydenberg saw this, and Morrison, who was keen to thrash out several options, agreed. Scott Morrison very keen on expanding home care packages for elderly people at home in the budget, I'm told. He knows these packages are very popular, so expect more money for that in the budget. And how about this for the budget? It had projected last year, Josh Frydenberg's last budget, by the September quarter, the price of iron ore would be $55 a tonne. As it stands now, it is at $190 per tonne. Unlikely to stay that high for 4 years, but if this were to remain for the 4 years of the forward estimates, it would be worth $100 billion over those 4 years to the budget bottom line. The difference between the Treasury estimate and what's occurring now, almost one of the deficits swallowed through that change in price, Kieran.
Andrew, let's go back to the aged care levy proposal and look at the dynamic. It's just fascinating because you've got a Prime Minister, former Treasurer, who's put it on the table, the current and, the incumbent and the Treasury Secretary rejecting it, basically. So it gives you a sense of the power balance behind the scenes. That's
my understanding. I've checked this out thoroughly, Kieran, and Scott Morrison wasn't saying we need to do this and Frydenberg pushed back, but he said here are the options. Let's look at all of them, including the levy, and Frydenberg won the day in saying we don't need this levy. Morrison in agreement with him at the end.